The 2010s decade in WWE was definitely a really weird time for the WWE Championship belt, with some of the most legendary champions of all time, and also some of the worst champions we ever had. This decade definitely defined the WWE Championship, but also some of these champions definitely killed the prestige a little bit as well. What's up, guys? Eric here from Backseat Wrestlers, and today we're going to be ranking every single WWE champion from the 2010 decade. Looks like there's a total of 19, which is not really that much to think about. It's a full 10 years, and there's only 19 different champions. You'll be able to see exactly why. I mean, John Cena won the freaking title 8 times between 2010 to 2017, so that's definitely why there's only 19 champions. But yeah, today we're gonna be ranking them. Definitely gonna be going over that. It's gonna be super freaking cool to see. Of course, where my rankings are gonna be. I want to know where the heck your rankings are gonna be. Who do you think is the greatest champion from the 2010 decade, and who do you think is the worst champion from the 2010 decade? Let me know in the comments. Let's get into it. All right, so here we have the list for every single champion from the 2010 to 2020 decade. Oh my god, some really good icons on this list, but looking at it, there's also some really terrible champions and championship reigns. Even though like there's some great wrestlers on here, some of the championship reigns were freaking terrible. So yeah, let's go ahead and start from, I guess, like let's just start from left to right. Why the hell not? So of course we do have, it looks like, Randy Orton. All right, so Randy Orton's a really good one. I mean, freaking Randy Orton's a freaking legend. Obviously, everybody knows that. Of course, he had 4 title reigns between 2010 to 2020. Obviously he has a lot more, but between 2010 to 2020, whenever the fuck I say the number of reigns, that's between that decade. Obviously, I know that they have more, or they probably have some from different decades, but we're only talking about 2010 to 2020. So between 2010 to 2020, of course, Randy Orton did have 4 title reigns for a grand total of 300 days. Yes, I did my research. Yes, I wrote it down because I didn't want to look stupid. That's what I'm reading. But yeah, grand total of 300 days. Of course, obviously, one of the most iconic reigns was when he did unify the WWE Championship with the World Heavyweight Championship. So we definitely can't forget about that. And a freaking fantastic match against John Cena at TLC in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. That match was freaking great. Obviously, Randy Orton definitely deserved that win. It was either him or John Cena, and I'm kind of happy they gave it to Randy Orton. He needed something to, of course, make him stand out a little bit more. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, taking that into consideration, and the fact that like he held on to that title for quite a long time too, because he eventually did lose it to, of course, Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30, in what was like probably like one of the best feel good moments in WWE history. So taking that into consideration, putting over the little man Daniel Bryan, I'm definitely gonna have to put, of course, this guy in S tier. No way I'm not gonna put that dude in S tier. Come on now. Right. So just moving on down the list. Looks like we have Dean Ambrose. All right, Dean Ambrose only held the title one time in WWE, actually. Like the actual world title, he only held it once his entire career there, which is honestly a damn shame, because this dude has been freaking killing it as John Moxley in AEW and in New Japan. Dude's definitely proven that he can, like, you know, lead a company for freaking sure. So the fact that only had it one time in WWE is kind of crazy to me. But yeah, of course, Dean Ambrose, 1 title reign. It was only for 83 days. Of course, the way that he won it was cashing in that Money in the Bank on Seth Rollins. Actually, it was the same night that, of course, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Dean Ambrose, all 3 of them held the title for the same night. That was freaking amazing to watch. Obviously, it was when Seth Rollins came back from his injury, where he tore his ACL, meniscus, MCL, all that. Ended up defeating Roman Reigns for the WWE Championship, and then, of course, ended up losing it to Dean Ambrose the same night. In terms of his title reign, though, oh my god, it wasn't even that good, if I'm being honest. And I'm a massive Dean Ambrose fan. Like, obviously, I'm a massive John Moxley fan, but so you're talking about Dean Ambrose, dude was really freaking good. So it's kind of difficult to say exactly. I think because like the title reign wasn't really that good, he did end up losing it to AJ Styles in a pretty decent match. Oh, that sucks. I'm probably gonna have to put him in regards to like where everybody else is. It wasn't really that long of a reign either. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to put Dean Ambrose as C tier. All right, so moving on from there, looks like we have AJ Styles. All right, AJ Styles, definitely one of the freaking legends of WWE. Even though he didn't really, you know, establish himself well in WWE, he had a total of 511 days as champion, 2 title reigns between he came in like what, 2016, so 2016 to like 2020 basically. 2 title reigns. That's the only 2 title reigns he actually had as a WWE champion. So that's kind of insane to me. But of course, he held it for a total of 511 days. both of the title runs were freaking amazing too. Like, come on now, like how can you forget like one of the greatest rivals, which was John Cena? And by the way, if John Cena does not face AJ Styles before he retires, I'm gonna be freaking pissed. Like, I'm gonna be personally upset about that. So that match definitely needs to happen. But in terms of like the title reign, I would say the longest one he had was 371 days, where he actually took the title off for Jinder Mahal. Thank freaking God, because oh my God, Jinder Mahal was a terrible freaking champion. We'll get to him in a second here. But yeah, in terms of AJ Styles and his title reign, he honestly carried like WWE around that time. I think honestly they were probably at like a really low period during that time, obviously. So yeah, I'm honestly gonna put AJ Styles. Can I put him up there in the S tier or A tier? This is tough. You know what? Because he basically carried the division during that time, I'm putting him in S tier. There's no way. All right, it looks like next on the list is Jinder Mahal. Who can forget this iconic freaking reign, right? Nah, I'm joking. This freaking reign was so bad. Oh my God. This is definitely one of those title reigns I want to forget. Like, this dude was so terrible. And that's like, you know, obviously I'm not trying to like throw jabs at people, obviously, but in terms of like the way that they was booked and just like his wrestling overall, I just wasn't a fan of it. That's just my personal opinion. I thought it was god awful. He held the title for 169 dark days of WWE. That was freaking terrible. He ended up beating, I think it was Randy Orton, for if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I wrote that down. Yeah, defeated Orton at Backlash 2017, and honestly one of the most boring matches I ever saw. It was freaking terrible. And then of course that one of the happiest days of my life was when AJ Styles ended up defeating him on an episode of SmackDown. That was freaking amazing. I'm so happy it ended that way. I remember going to live events when Jinder Mahal was champion, and it was terrible. It was just boring. That's all I got to say. So Jinder Mahal, one of the worst champions I ever saw in the WWE history. Definitely like made the WWE Championship just like god awful. So I'm gonna put him in D tier, which is the lowest tier I can put him in. If I can put him any lower, I would. This dude is definitely last place. All right, and next we got Roman Reigns. All right. So before I rank this dude, just remember this is not our tribal chief Roman Reigns. This is not the Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman or the heel Roman Reigns. This is pure white bread, babyface, blue-eyed, the big dog Roman Reigns, which everybody knows was freaking terrible. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that was literally one of the worst things ever. Nobody liked him. He got booed even though he was a babyface. All he really said was, "This is my yard now." I'm pretty sure that was his shirt too. Trying to think of like a couple of like the freaking feuds he had during that time. Can you remember? Oh God, because does anybody remember like the terrible one he had with like Baron Corbin, where like they put like dog food all over him? Like that just. Whenever I think of this babyface Roman Reigns, that's what I think of, and that's why I just think this was complete dog crap. Of course, Roman Reigns did have the title 3 separate times. Of course, he won the vacated title because Seth Rollins, of course, vacated it when he got injured. Of course, immediately lost it to Sheamus. And then, of course, he also had that horrible match against Triple H at WrestleMania 32 to win the title as well, after he lost it defending it at Royal Rumble. What the hell was that about? I remember that. That was so bad. Oh my God, that was such a dark time for WWE now that I'm thinking about it. Yeah, all 3 of his reigns, honestly, as, you know, babyface Roman Reigns. I think other than the one where like he was facing like, you know, Brock Lesnar and all that, that was really cool. But other than that, like the rest of the stuff was pretty bad. The only good feud he really had during that time was against Brock Lesnar. And just so you guys know, obviously Brock Lesnar's on the list. I know it's a lot of controversy around him right now. I'm talking solely just on wrestling. If you see all the other stuff that happened outside the ring, I think it's a piece of crap. If that's actually the case, again, I don't know that much about it, but if all that stuff is true, piece of crap. But in terms of like in-ring wrestling, obviously massive reason why, of course, the 2010 to 2020 WWE Championship was extremely legendary, and obviously his feud against Roman is one of the greatest feuds of all time. So that being said, because he held it 3 times, because he at least had a decent feud, I'm definitely going to put him above Dean Ambrose. And he also held it for like a total of, it looks like only 116 days, which was split between 3 title reigns. Is kind of crazy, but I'm going to put him in B tier. And that's honestly being super generous, because it was bad, but I'm going to put him in B tier. All right, moving on from that, it looks like we have Triple H. Oh god, Triple H, that freaking title reign was so bad, bro. He won it at the Royal Rumble after defeating, basically just throwing Roman Reigns over the top rope, because that Royal Rumble, for some reason they wanted to have Roman Reigns defend the title at Royal Rumble. Whoever won the Royal Rumble won the title. It was bad. But anyways, Triple H ended up picking up the win there, feuded with him for a couple months, and then of course defended it against Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 32 in what was a god awful match, if I'm being honest. And then of course that's when he lost it. So the title reign wasn't really that long. It was like 69 days, if I'm not mistaken. So I did not like the title reign. I thought the storyline was freaking stupid during that time. And then this is coming from the guy who actually defends Triple H in the Reign of Terror. Just so you guys know, that's my hot take. I was a big fan of that. I loved heels growing up. That's probably why. Maybe if I watch it back, I'll hate it, but as a kid, I loved it. So that's just me. But yeah, in terms of this specific title reign, of course, this was Triple H's only title reign as WWE Champion during the 2010 to 2020 era. Of course, he shortly retired after that. I'm definitely putting him in the D tier. There's no way I'm putting him anywhere higher than that. All right, next up, we got Seth freaking Rollins, one of the greatest WWE champions of all time. Argue with your mom. This dude was freaking fantastic. Even like pre-injury Rollins, that dude was like mythical. Like, you just hear stories of this dude. This dude was freaking amazing. And then of course, when he unified the title, when he beat John Cena, unified the United States Championship with the WWE Championship for the first time in history. Such an iconic moment. He only held both titles for like a couple of weeks. It was like 3 or 4 weeks, but still such a great time during WWE history for sure. Of course, he had 2 title reigns during the 2010 to 2020 era. Of course, he had the heist of the century WrestleMania 31 cash in a main event against Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. When of course he made it a triple threat, ended up stealing the championship, and what nobody saw coming. It was such a great moment. He did it again to freaking CM Punk at Survivor Series, SummerSlam. I was there too. Sorry, CM Punk fans, I just had to bring that up. But yeah, of course, he was great too. That dude was, oh my god, Seth Rollins was so freaking fire as WWE champion, and then he had to vacate it due to his injury. Came back, reclaimed it against Roman Reigns, and then lost it, obviously, due to Dean Ambrose the same night via the Money in the Bank cash in at Money in the Bank. So it was probably one of the fastest cash ins of all time too. So yeah, that I just putting everything into perspective, like his great freaking feuds that he had during that time. Again, against Roman, against freaking John Cena, and just going down the list. Like, bro was killing it. Dean Ambrose, like definitely gonna put Seth Rollins in the S tier. 100%. There's no way I'm doing anything worse than that. All right, it looks like next up we have The Rock. Oh, what can I say about The Rock? Rock is on my Mount Rushmore, just because, like, obviously I just love watching The Rock. I barely watched him that much. It's from like, I guess like the beginning of me watching wrestling is what I can remember, because then shortly after he left. But yeah, I'm a massive fan of The Rock. Dude is one of the freaking greatest wrestlers of all time. Probably the best promo of all time in WWE history. Like, this dude can talk crap about anybody and make it hilarious. So definitely one of the all-time greats. But this title run ended one of the best title runs in WWE history, and it shouldn't have never happened in the first place. This is, of course, when he defeated CM Punk after CM Punk held that title for 434 days at Royal Rumble, just to have like the title for the rematch against John Cena at WrestleMania 29, which I thought the title was not necessary at all, but I guess they wanted to spin it because they did the same main event last year, the year previous, I mean. So I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about this. In terms of like the title reign, it wasn't like it was bad. Obviously, it's The Rock. He's always going to make everything super entertaining. This is his only title that he's won during that decade. Obviously, it wasn't full-time the entire time either, so that makes perfect sense. He only held the title for a total of 69 days. Same thing as Triple H. WWE has a really big fascination with 69 days. I guess it kind of makes sense because Vince was the leader there, but a lot of the title reigns I seen during that time were like 69 days or 169 days. That's definitely Vince. Nobody's gonna tell me otherwise. Vince is the one putting that up there. So definitely not S tier. Definitely not. Because once he lost the title, he just dipped. He just gave it to John Cena and then dipped. So I can't put it at A tier either. I guess, I don't know. It was entertaining though. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna put it stuck between C or B tier. I'm gonna put it at B tier. Just because I love The Rock. That's just me being biased. I'm sorry, bro. And then here comes this walking piece of crap, Alberto Del Rio. Oh God, Alberto Del Rio was champion. I think it was 2 times. Yeah, number of reigns 2 times. Grand total of 82 days. Cashed in his Money in the Bank against CM Punk at SummerSlam after basically almost ruining that whole storyline against CM Punk and John Cena during that. I remember that, like, freaking CM Punk came back, won the title after like kayfabe leaving the company, and then of course losing it immediately due to that cash in. It was freaking terrible. But anyways, won it, lost it to Cena, won it back in a triple threat match like 2 weeks later. That's how quick some of these freaking, of course, title reigns were, and then lost it to Punk at Survivor Series, and then that's when Punk ended up holding the title for, I believe it was 434 days, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Alberto Del Rio as a person, terrible freaking piece of crap, if I'm being honest. I cannot stand this dude. As a wrestler, terrible. Can't stand this dude. You thought I was gonna say something different? No, I can't freaking stand this dude. I'm gonna put him, God, he was a heel, unless he's a freaking piece of crap. D tier. Screw him. I was gonna put him at C, but no, screw this guy. I can't stand this guy. And I physically cannot put that dude at C tier. I hate this dude with a passion. Moving on. All right, and now we have Brock Lesnar, one of the most controversial names in WWE at the moment, obviously for what he's done. I don't like to talk about controversial stuff because I don't know that much about it. All I know is that as a wrestler, Brock Lesnar, you are great. As a person, I have no idea. And if you are a piece of shit person, all that stuff that came out is true, you suck. F you. But again, if it's not, whatever. That's all I'm going to say about that. How I feel about him coming back and all that, that's another story. Again, I'm watching for wrestling. I'm not watching all that other stuff, BS. That's whatever. I'm watching as like the character in wrestling at the moment. That's what I'm watching as. And from the character, I'm watching at the from 2017. Again, this is before all the freaking allegations and stuff. Dude was a freaking beast. You cannot say otherwise. Beast incarnate. Everybody loved the Beast incarnate. Freaking Suplex City. Dude was freaking great. So, Brock Lesnar, number of reigns 2. Of course, he ended up returning to WWE to face off against John Cena. Wow, look, it was freaking deja vu. Of course, in 2014, ended up beating the living crap out of John Cena at SummerSlam 2014 before losing it at WrestleMania 31 in the heist of the century. He then, of course, won it back again, defeating Kofi Kingston in 10 seconds in what was one of the freaking dumbest decisions that Vince McMahon ever made. Defeated Kofi Kingston on an episode of SmackDown in 10 seconds and went on to hold the title for, I believe, over 200 days. Of course, he ended up losing it in like late 2020, so he technically was the last champion of the 2019 decade, 2010s decade, my mistake. So yeah, in terms of like what he did, I mean, like, he was freaking dominant, that's for damn sure. He put on some pretty decent matches around this time. Who can forget his matches against like freaking, remember like his matches against like Jinder Mahal and all that? Those matches are great. Of course, John Cena, etc. So I can't put him at S tier. Because yes, he was like great, but you also had to remember this, and I think a lot of people forget this. Everybody was so mad at this dude because he was so freaking part-time that like you barely saw the titles. So there's no way in hell I'm putting him in S tier. I hate like the part-time champions who you rarely freaking see. I complained about that even when Roman was champion. I'm a massive fan of Roman Reigns, my freaking tribal chief. Everybody's tribal chief. Love that freaking dude. But a lot of people seem to forget that everybody was so freaking mad he barely showed up on TV when he was a Bloodline. In the Bloodline situation for 3 freaking years. So I never forget that. No, heck no. I'm not forgetting that. I'm not putting you at S tier. I'm putting you in A tier. And that's the bottom line. That's all I'm going to say. I can't put him anywhere lower than that. He was definitely better than freaking Roman, The Rock, and all these other people. But I think in terms of like overall status, AJ Styles' title reign was a lot better. Seth Rollins' title reign was a lot better. And of course, Randy Orton, one of the GOATs, definitely had a way better, of course, title reign than Brock Lesnar. All right, trekking along. Looks like we have Daniel Bryan. All right, Daniel Bryan. What the freak can I say about Daniel Bryan? Daniel Bryan had 4 title reigns during this time, which is honestly kind of, you kind of forget about it a little bit because obviously he had to like relinquish that title. Does anybody remember that when he had to relinquish the title after he beat Randy Orton for it because of like a quick pinfall? God, some of these storylines were so freaking dumb back then. I remember like I would watch them when I was younger and I'd just be freaking heated. And now looking back at it, it just made me relive the anger that I had during that time. So I don't know. Like I guess to further the storyline, I guess. I mean, they kind of made for good television at the time. But yeah, of course, Daniel Bryan at first defeated John Cena, lost it to Orton the same night at SummerSlam. Of course, had the fantastic rivalries against Randy Orton and the Authority. Remember the Yes Movement? Yes Movement was freaking great. During this time, Daniel Bryan was probably one of the most over WWE wrestlers of all freaking time. And you can't tell me otherwise. That dude was so freaking over. The takeover that they did, where they took over the ring to get the title shot at WrestleMania 30, where he had to fight Triple H, and then of course Batista or Blue Tista during the time, everybody would freaking call him Blue Tista, and Randy Orton. Remember that? Like that was freaking great. He ended up fight all three of them in the same night in 2 separate matches. It was freaking great. And then he ended up winning. It was such a great moment. But yeah, of course, unfortunately, whenever you do think about those moments, you also have to think about like the injuries he suffered through them. So of course, he had a grand total of 208 days as champion, 4 title reigns. And then of course, just like the injuries, bro. Like the injuries always got in his way. Like this dude was so close to being like one of the greatest WWE wrestlers of all time. He probably technically is, but he could have been way higher up on that list and had some iconic rivalries, but the injuries always freaking killed him. To the point where he had to freaking retire for so long, and then he made his way to AEW. In AEW, he freaking killed it. I hope he comes back soon. He kind of semi-retired. I'm hoping he comes back soon. That'd be really freaking cool to see. But yeah, of course, in terms of Daniel Bryan and where I would put him, unfortunately, I can't put him in S tier because there's no way he's not in S tier. Just because of the injuries, bro. He was definitely better than The Rock and Roman. I'm putting him at A tier. They're definitely an A tier champion for sure. All right, it looks like next up is The Miz. All right, so The Miz. Oh God. Miz only had 1 reign during this time. Of course, he also had a 2nd reign. You know what's kind of crazy to think about? The Miz is a 2-time Triple Crown champion. They just won every single title in WWE twice. That's kind of insane to think about when it comes to The Miz. He's one of those low-key legends that doesn't really get the flowers that he deserves. I'm a big fan of The Miz. I think he's probably if I'm being honest, he's probably my favorite IC champion of all time, Intercontinental champion of all time. He just elevated that title during that era. But in terms of the WWE champion, of course, he was a little bit younger during that time, and I don't really think he was that good during that time, if I'm being honest. And yeah, he did defeat Randy Orton. He cashed in the Money in the Bank on an episode of Raw in November of 2010. Of course, that gave birth to one of the greatest memes ever, though, like the Angry Girl meme. Remember that meme was freaking great. Of course, ended up defeating John Cena in the main event at WrestleMania 27 as well, with the help of The Rock, and that did, of course, further the storyline with The Rock and John Cena, leading up to 2 of the best main events we ever had in WWE history, WrestleMania 28 and WrestleMania 29, where they fought each other back to back. But that has nothing to do with the freaking Miz. Of course, he had held the title for a grand total of 159 days. Yeah, that's. I wouldn't say he's better. No, he's definitely better than Jinder Mahal, Triple H, and Alberto Del Rio. That's for damn sure. Damn, I didn't really enjoy his title reign, if I'm being honest. I don't think he's higher than Roman Reigns, and I don't think he's higher than The Rock. And The Rock only held it for 69 days, but it was just entertaining because obviously he was going off, facing off against the likes of freaking CM Punk and John Cena. So I guess I'll put him at C tier. I'm putting him at C tier. Now, C tier, again, that's whatever. It's not it's fine that it happened, I guess I'm trying to say. But yeah, that's all I can really give him. I don't really care that much about it, to be honest. Rey Mysterio. Oh my God. Rey Mysterio, his only WWE Championship win was, of course... Oh, God, it's kind of... A lot of people forget about this title reign because he only held the title for an hour or so. Of course, he ended up winning it, of course, in a vacated title after Punk left the company. So Punk was still technically champion during this time, but of course, due to storyline, he left. So they needed to basically identify a new champion. They held a tournament, and Rey Mysterio ended up winning the tournament to become the WWE champion. The downside of that is, and this is where a lot of people hate Super Cena during this time, But of course, the downside to that is he had to face John Cena the same night because John Cena had that rematch clause, and for some reason they needed to do it the same night. So he ended up losing it the same night to John Cena, and John Cena just became champion again. So technically, Rey Mysterio's title reign was only for like 20 minutes. Nothing happened like at all during that time. Like that's all you can really say. Grand total of like an hour. So sadly, I can't put him any higher. I love Rey Mysterio. Like Rey Mysterio is one of my goals. I freaking love Rey Mysterio. But in terms of this title reign, I'm sorry, Rey. I gotta put you in D tier. Sorry, man. Dom Mysterio would love that though. He'd probably put him in F if there was an F. Right, and now we have Sheamus. Sheamus. Oh god, Sheamus was. When I was a kid, I hated Sheamus. I'm gonna be real, because he was a heel, and obviously I hated Sheamus, and for that freaking reason, he just always beat like my goats, like freaking John Cena. So yeah, hated Sheamus as a kid, loved the dude as a freaking adult. Like I love Sheamus. Dude is definitely a legend in WWE. One of the all-time greats. He held the title 3 times. Well, technically 3 times, I guess I can say, during the 2010 to 2020 era, because he did hold it going into 2010. I'm sorry. He held it going into 2010. So technically, I'm gonna count that. So yeah, 3 title reigns during the 2010 to 2020 era. Of course, went into 2010 as champion, lost to the Elimination Chamber. He was a pretty decent heel too. He held it for a grand total of 181 days. Lost the second title reign to Randy Orton at a fatal 4-way, and then the last one to Roman Reigns in 2015. So yeah, that's all you can really say about Sheamus. I thought he was pretty decent, but I don't think he was like one of the better champions, if I'm being honest. I'm gonna have to put him under the same tier as Dean Ambrose, and damn, I kind of feel like I can put him higher, but no, I'm gonna put him. Yeah, I'm putting him on the same tier as, of course. This is kind of tough. I'm a big fan of Sheamus. Should I put him at B tier or C tier? B tier. Yeah, B tier. He was better than Dean Ambrose title reign, I'm not gonna lie. Bray Wyatt. Jesus. R.I.P. Bray Wyatt, one of the freaking greatest minds in wrestling history. I freaking love Bray Wyatt to death. One of the reasons why I got back into wrestling was because of Bray Wyatt. For those of you guys who don't know, I stopped watching wrestling a little bit during like I want to say during like the Miz era, just because like, I wasn't a fan of the Miz. Got back at like WrestleMania 29, and then just nonstop. I've never missed a freaking show since then. But of course, I went back and watched everything that I did miss. I only missed like 2-3 years. But one of the main reasons why I did like fully get back into it was WrestleMania 30, his feud against John Cena. Made me a massive fan of course, WWE again. And then, of course, from that point on, Bray Wyatt was definitely defined me as a wrestling fan. I love Bray Wyatt. I have a bunch of his shirts, a lot of his merch. Of course, I have the plaque up there of him as well. Bray Wyatt, one of the greatest of all time in my mind. Like that dude made me love wrestling again. He was such a freaking great soul. In terms of his championship reigns, he only had 1 WWE championship reign during this time. Of course, he won it in the 2020s eras as like the Fiend and stuff, but that was a Universal Championship anyways. 1-time WWE champion, of course, won it at Elimination Chamber 2017 in a great feel-good moment, one of the best feel-good moments ever. Of course, I think AJ Styles was champion going into that. He ended up actually pinning AJ Styles. He was the final person in there. Unfortunately, we came after it was kind of bad. He only held the total for 48 days. He held the title for 48 days, lost it to, of course, Randy Orton at WrestleMania 33 in what was honestly not a good match either. His feuds with Randy Orton were never that good. I don't know why. Like, they just never really blended that well. Like, the feuds with Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton were not good. I did not enjoy watching them at all. So, speaking on that, I can only put Bray Wyatt at C tier, which is sad to say. Now, if we're going overall, like, obviously, like, probably one of my favorites, he's definitely up there. But in terms of, like, his title reign, he only held it for 48 days. Yes, I know Jinder held it for longer. Yes, I know that basically all these people except for Ray held it for longer. But I can't stand those freaking dudes. I mean, I Triple H different. You know, Triple H is just because the title reign was bad. But the other people there, Alberto Del Rio and Jinder Mahal, I can't stand those dudes. Those dudes are terrible. But yeah, anyway, let's move on. All right, moving on. We have the GOAT. John Cena. All right, John Cena. This is why it's kind of weird. John Cena won the title 8 times during 2010 to 2017, 2018, basically, but for the decade. 8 times if you count Elimination Chamber 2010, which he only held the title for a little bit. I think it was on for like 5 minutes, and then Batista came out. Yeah, grand total of course 391 days combined, which is not that long, bro. Like some of his title reigns were like 3 weeks, 2 weeks. Of course, it made sense because of the storylines he was in. He basically carried WWE on his back during that era, though, like, especially like between like probably like what 06 to like freaking 2014, 2015. That's probably like he carried WWE on his back during that time. You can't tell me otherwise. That dude was a freaking goat. So yeah, grand total of 391 days. Shortest reign was a few minutes, longest being 133 days back in 2013. But one thing I will say is that a lot of people love to hate on John Cena back then because they say he never put over anybody. Of course, he's put over a lot of people in his older days, but he put over a lot of good people during his era too. He put over Sheamus, obviously CM Punk, Bray Wyatt, of course Daniel Bryan. There was a lot of good ones. So it's like, bro, like I don't know what the heck people are saying. I don't know. Obviously, WrestleMania 30 is different. Like I think Bray Wyatt should have won that, but besides the point. No way in hell I'm not going to put this dude in S tier. He carried WWE on his back during this time. Yes, some of his title reigns were short, but it was 4 storylines and he won them back. So I guess I'm going to have to put him in S tier. There's no way I'm going to put this dude anywhere else. He is my GOAT. I love John Cena. You're the man. I'm going to cry when he freaking retires. I'm definitely going to cry when he retires. Jesus. All right, next we have CM Punk. All right, so CM Punk had 2 title reigns during this time. Of course, defeated John Cena at Money in the Bank in one of the greatest feuds in WWE history and one of the best matches I ever saw. Love that match. Freaking great match. Of course, kayfabe left WWE with the title, came back and defeated John Cena again, held it for 28 days, lost it to Del Rio, then won it back at Survivor Series for the grand total of 434 days. Yeah, so grand total of 462 days overall between the 2 title reigns, and they were kind of just back to back. But yeah, definitely one of the greatest title reigns in history. One of my favorite title reigns in history. This dude never got the flowers that he deserved as champion, though. He didn't even main event WrestleMania as champion. Like, that's freaking ridiculous to me. I understand why he left the company. Just looking back, this dude got hold so many times. It's not even funny. Of course, he ended up losing the title to The Rock at Royal Rumble, which I thought was not necessary at all, but it happened. So yeah, like that's basically it. Like, of course, he had some of the greatest feuds like during that era too. Like, some of his matches were great. He ended up bringing the Shield like together, like kayfabe, bringing the Shield together, using them against, of course, The Rock. They had to restart the match, so he definitely had a better. I'm putting him in S tier. There were some great champions during this time. What are you gonna say, bro? This is my opinion. You can't say anything. There were some great champions during this time, and every single person in that F tier, I will fight to the death that they're some of the greatest champions in WWE history. You can't tell me otherwise. All right, and next we had Batista. Batista held the title 1 time during this era, and it was actually when he was out the door. Like, his contract was expiring in 2010. Basically won it at Elimination Chamber after cashing in his Batista in the Bank, aka being on Vince's side and basically kissing Vince's ass during that time in storyline. Obviously he was on Vince's side during like when Bret Hart came back. Remember that Bret Hart came back? Of course, Vince kicked him in the balls, and then like John Cena took his side and like kind of like argued with Vince about it. Batista came and helped Vince against John Cena, and then Vince was like, "Oh, you scratch my back, I scratch yours," and then of course gave him the title opportunity after Elimination Chamber when John Cena just won it. Batista picked up the win, obviously, after it retired John Cena, and then of course he held it for a grand total of 35 days, because it was literally just to build up the feud for WrestleMania. WrestleMania 26, lost it to John Cena, and then of course right after that, basically Batista ended up leaving. He was already on his way out to Hollywood. Now he's one of the greatest WWE to Hollywood actors of all time. I think he's way better than The Rock and John Cena, if I'm being honest. He has a lot of freaking range. I love Batista as a person. Dude is great. Loved him as a wrestler. I used to imitate his freaking, his fireworks all the freaking time when I was a kid. But in terms of like the actual title reign, it wasn't anything great. I mean, it was freaking pretty lackluster, if I'm being honest. His other title reigns before that, his other 5 title reigns he had before that, between 2000s to 2010 were great. I freaking loved him. He had some great freaking feuds during that time against like Triple H, etc. But in terms of this title reign, I can't really say anything other than it was god awful. It led to a decent match, but it was only 36 days. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to put him in D tier. Sorry. And lastly, we have Kofi Mania, Kofi Kingston. Controversial, maybe hot take, I guess you can say. I never liked Kofi Kingston as champion. I thought that he was never championship material, main championship material. I love Kofi Kingston, one of the greatest tag team champions of all time. He was great when he was, Jamaican Kofi Kingston as well, going after like, the IC US title, all that mid card stuff. He was a great mid card champion. I don't think he was good as like world champion. I never really enjoyed it. Like, I don't know. Of course, he ended up defeating Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. Went on to lose to Brock in like 10 seconds on episode. I think it was WrestleMania 35, if I'm not mistaken. On episode of SmackDown. That was a terrible decision too. I felt like if you're gonna like build him up, like why the hell would you make him lose in 10 seconds? I guess that's probably like another reason why I didn't really care for it. He held the title for a good amount of time though, 180 days. But I never really enjoyed it. I never really believed him as like champion. I never really thought it was that believable. Maybe it was also because he was part of New Day, and New Day was kind of doing like their silly stuff, like their silly gimmicky stuff. I kind of say the same thing about like Big E. Like Big E, prior to New Day, when he was just like, Big E Langston, world title material for sure. But like when he was like doing like all like the bootios and stuff, I don't know. I don't really see those kind of people as like main event talent, I guess. Even though Big E and Kofi are some like they're great wrestlers, it's just more so their gimmicks, I guess. Wasn't really a big fan of it, so I can't put him above Sheamus, The Rock, and of course Roman. So I'm gonna have to put Kofi under C tier. And I'm sorry, I just had to. I'm really sorry. All right, and that's my list. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe as always. I'll be back next week with another video. Maybe I'll do the 2000s if you guys want to watch that. I'll definitely do like the 2000s, of course, WWE Champions. Maybe I'll even do the 2010s decade for the World Heavyweight Champion. Remember that that freaking title flip flopped so many times. Remember Jack Swagger? That was bad, bro. That was bad. I'm sorry. But anyways, maybe I'll do that. That sounds like a lot of fun, actually. Maybe I will do that. But be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Of course, if you like these kind of videos, please let me know. Of course, make sure you follow on TikTok at Backseat Wrestlers. Definitely appreciate all the support we've been getting there. And yeah, see you guys next week. Love you guys so much. Peace.